Hello everybody, I have decided to make the video where I will show you everything what to do to make the models. Start from the beginning, it's primitives. There are box, sphere, everything what is similar with box, paint is a box. Sphere like sphere. A lot of models I start to paint with plane. Paint primitive, then press poly. Poly is the most important part of modeling. You should know everything in this part. So press poly. You can pull the object using shift to paint the parts of plane. Connect the dots using weld. Paint the additional edges using cut. To add the edges also using connect or slice plane. Press slice and they are added. You can detach a part of an object. Or attach it with weld. A lot of functions, but the basis for work is located in the poly inset. Then a little bit later I'll tell you about modifiers, what I use in my work. Paint a box. All modifiers work with when the object have the edges. Now I'll show you because a lot of people paint an object and modifier isn't work. For example, bend modifier. It makes the object more rounded, bend the edges. For example, we need to bend the chair backrest. So you use bend modifier if we haven't the segments. So the bend modifier works like this. So when you try to round something and you haven't the segments in the object, you have to add the segments. Then for example the backrest. Now I'll show you. Set 19 degrees. View from above. Unwrap it. Make a copy instance. So figuratively speaking, we have a backrest. Set here 90 degrees. Now we'll be painting a pillow, then backrest. So the next one. The important modifiers. The next modifier is normal. For example, we have a box. Make a copy. It has inner and outer sides. If we paint a plane, rotate it in different directions and forgetting where the front or back sides. Of course, it's clearly with the box where front, inner sides. And to check it on the plane, press poly and extrude. Where extrude pull out, so it's outer side. And this is the inner side. If you change the normals, outer side with the inner, so you can apply normal modifier and press poly. So when we make extrude, it will be pulled out in other side. If on the object normals are changed, the materials and textures will be applied incorrect. The next modifier is shell modifier. For example, we are painting the chair backrest. Take a plane, press poly, connect edges, it will be not so straight. Take cut, and make the second part. So this is our chair backrest. And very good modifier is shell modifier. It makes the volume to the object. Then press poly, delete the inner edge, this one. Make a copy. And start to make volume of the backrest using cut. And make what we need for smoothing. This is Turbo Smooth modifier. I set 2 at Turbo Smooth modifier making models. If make the bigger settings, the model will be very heavy if we convert it to poly or mesh, so it's better to set to the optimal variant. Or you can set 1 or 2, everything depends on your computer. The next modifier is also useful modifier. Not so useful, but the twist modifier, it twists the object. The next modifier, often in my usage, is map modifiers, complex and simple. For example, we have some texture applied to object. Select this one is simple map. If our object looks like a box, select here box and change our texture as we need. We can select plane or cylindrical, for example, for floor lamps or such cylindrical forms. So here we need plane, box and cylinder. Then complex map, not so complex. Tell you how it applies. For example, we have an object. We need to apply a map to make unwrapping. Select the edges. Then chamfer, put the mark here. It divides the edges, so it will be unwrapped like a box. Just to make these stitches in the places where they wouldn't be seen. For example, down the chair, not so visible places. So made chamfer, then press Ctrl A, apply map, set here polygon, planar, open this window. Press Tools, Relax and Start Relax. So our object is unwrapped. Here select first or second setting. We can change the places between them to make it more faster. This one is to select the complete object. So we have the unwrapping. If some parts are not unwrapped, write down here 200, select this thing, press off here, set here a little bit bigger to see it much better, set it less. For example, this part is not unwrapped. We can move it, then start relax and it will be unwrapped. Also, we can make render and use Photoshop to apply the texture correctly. Now I'll show you. Make it together. Here select render, set the height and width, press render. Then replace to Photoshop, apply the texture, and it will be correctly lie along the box. Then when you have done everything, convert to poly, select the parts which need to be sewn, press Weld to make the object will be without holes. And we have unwrapped object with texture. This is the basic principle, it works everywhere. You can make the unwrapping of every form objects. Also make this one, press poly, attach, weld, when you make weld, watch that the dots are not be sewn like this. The dots should be welded correctly, not to set too big settings. How to make the unwrapping for this object? For example, select this edge, apply chamfer, set mapping, tools, relax, start relax, and the object is beginning to unwrapping. And this is what about I have told you the difficult place, it is not unwrapping. Write down some setting, select dots. I have a big scale, I said 200 when I have a normal scale. Pull the dots, start relax, and this part is beginning to unwrap faster. Neither this one, and also these sides. So the unwrapping is ready. Press here, convert to poly. To check the correctness of unwrapping, in diffuse of standard material, select checker. It's material with squares. Set Hichtiv. Every square need to be like squares, where they are rectangular or other forms, so the texture there will be light on an incorrect way. We can try some texture. For example, carbon. Set the biggest settings to reduce the texture size. So it's applied correctly. And we'll try to apply this mapping. This mapping is better applied to the square objects. When you have objects with curved edges, the texture will be applied not so good. It's better to make the unwrapping for these objects. That's all about modifiers. Others are not so important. And forgot about this one. For example, we have a sofa. Very good modifier FDDD. Delete the pillows. If we need to curve the back side or the backrest to change the form, we use these modifiers. For example, where 3 settings, it divides box in 3 parts. And pulling the dots, we can edit the object. Four to 4. There are 4 parts which can edit. 2. There are 2. For example, if we need to raise one part of the object. Or FDD box. Here we can set how many parts we need to move. For example, any other part. Also, we can select some part of the sofa and apply it to this modifier. If we want, for example, this armrest and we like it, press poly and then make a backrest. These modifiers are very useful and is often applied. So the next moment. For example, we have a sofa. We have scaled it up and want to make it extrude. Set for example 1, make a stitch, and I'll show you how to make the stitches. We need to set chamfer at 2. But when we set it 2, here we can see another setting because this box hasn't been scaled up. Set chamfer at 2 and it's much smaller. To correct these settings, we paint the box. convert to poly, and attach it to the scaled object. So now we delete it, set chamfer at 2, and it's already correct. Also, this thing works with spline. For example, we painted the text. This is the original text, but we need to scale it up. Then we make the width set, for example, 3. And here set 3. Here we have the correct settings, here we have the right ones. To make the right settings, convert it to spline and attach it to the scaled. So here we have the correct settings. Also, it works in spline when we paint the circles. Made them in this way. One make like this. So when we scale it up in the width, one part is wider than another. And to make everything correctly, paint the spline and attach to these ones. Now we have here the correct size. For example, when we have the size 80, it's 80 in common size. Also, this thing with attaching the object help you with modifiers. For example, paint the plane, rotate it, convert to poly, scale it up, and the units of measure are changed. And just let's take this pillow, it will be more clearly. We have a pillow and we need this side to make a little bit curved. How to make it? We can select the dots using soft selection. But here we need to set some settings, it's difficult. We need to curve it straight along. So we apply FDD modifier 3 to 3. Sometimes we select this modifier 3 to 3 and it looks like that. And we need to curve this part. And to make it correctly, we paint the box. Press attach. Apply modifier. And now it looks like this. In box direction. If we box or plane, it doesn't matter. Set in this direction. Attach the modifier will be in direction of the plane. We can use it in this way. Attach the plane to the object for applied modifier. Now, for example, paint the column. Interesting thing. Sometimes when we edit the object, we can lose the center of the object. You can make it here, set the center dot, and it's rotating around it. To make it in the middle of the object, press this button. We can select all and make the center of all the objects. Now from this cylinder we'll make the column. Make the height. And tweak the object using tools. Array button. Set here 72, 360, and set the needed quantity of the object repeated. Make this part in mirror view of this one. Now we have it like this. Delete this. And press mirror instance. And paint the column. For smoothing. We shouldn't have such dots. Sometimes there can be such mistakes. It's better to correct these mistakes in time. paint the grid. Add the edges. And pull it inside. Small chamfer. We should lead the dots to the end. Convert to poly. Attach. Press weld and apply Turbo Smooth. So we have such object. Add the edges, press connect. And now these lines are straightly along the object. Without edges they were more curved. Now I'll tell you about the grid construction, how it can be and how it can't. Take the chair leg like example. First of all, when we paint something, we should think about how many parts it will consist of. First of all, I'll paint the pillow. For example, this pillow and how to paint it. To make it faster, we need to make 4 parts repeated between each other. Paint a plane. Pull the edges using a shift. Make a copy instance. Press mirror. So it will be much faster to paint such pillow. We move one part and other parts are moving too. Add the edges using connect. Pull the edges. And divide it in these squares. You should make the squares in proper size. And if there are it spent a lot of time to edit them, and they are less, the result will be wrong. And this is the correct quantity. Here we apply chamfer. And make this top part a little bit convex. We need to add approximately 2 edges. These parts. This and these ones. When there are not so many dots, it's easy to edit the object. Now paint the side part, because it's not correct like this on the curved parts. Apply Turbo Smooth. These separate dots can be only on the straight parts. Somewhere here or on this part. Not on these sharp places, because they make the wrong form and it will be very difficult to edit them. So we need to make it like this using cut. And make inset. Who knows the functions better, those making the models much faster. And it's better that 2 dots are not be ended on one line. It's better to make it like this. Because when you apply Turbo Smooth, there will be a lot of different polygons and other forms. Now we'll make a stitch. For example, -2, 0.3, and here -1, 1. So the stitch is ready. And I will show you one more thing. For example, the same pillow. Why it's important to make the grid square view. For example, delete these edges. Make one stitch here. And one here. Also set 3. Here press extrude -1, 1. Here let it be -2, 0.3, and apply Turbo Smooth. Where we have a little quantity of segments, we'll have such root mistakes, so we need to increase the grid. So it's better to support such difficult places, like this band or this stitch, with additional edges. If we place here the edge and here and add one here and here, so the stitch will be correctly set. Here 1, and it's much better, so it's more convenient when the grid is square. The even squares are need to edit it easily. For example, we need to make the stitch deeper. We haven't a lot of segments, so we pull it inside and it's ready. Now paint the folds. There are big folds, small folds, wrinkles. For example, here you can see not big folds, the average ones, it's the same pillow, and by the fact that the folds not so big, the repeating is not so thin. Here you can see big folds. You shouldn't paint the big folds from the picture, because to think up how they will be very difficult. So it's simple to paint from the picture, from the ready-made model. These chaotic folds I can make in Marvelous. But the best decision to make everything in Max. These folds are better paint from the picture. These ones can make in Marvelous. So it's important that there are the same folds on the cotton. They are not so good seen like on the leather. So when you make the folds on the leather, you should pull them not so hard. Now we'll try to make the folds on this pillow. To make the folds, we need to paint the grid folds direction. For example, our folds will be in this direction. So we change the grid in this direction. Two dots not be a line on one line. We need to delete this. Then we paint our folds how they will be. Now select the edges. This place we have on the edges supporting this one. That's why we need to divide this place with edges approximately to this distance. Now I'll show you. Pull it out or pull it inside a little and apply Turbo Smooth. So we have such folds, such wrinkles. Here we can see a mistake. So we should always check out everything and make copies to not remake it a lot of times. For example, when we make something and afraid to spoil it, make a copy object and continue working. Because when we have spoiled something, we always have an object nearby which can remake it again. Now I'll fix it, just pull the edges. Press Ctrl A and weld the edges. That's all, we have the correct object. For example, we want to make one more fold. Apply Turbo Smooth. So if we want the same folds, we need to paint the grid to the end. Many people say, I'm not sure, that when we have a lot of triangles and pentacles, that it will be long rendering. If you want to be calm, so we can make from this pillow, for example, you can make a square grid. What to do? We can make it in brush, set the center, export to OBJ, or if sometimes something happened and you open the object and it's so complex, a lot of triangles, open brush, import saved file, watch the grid, we have a symmetry, press X to delete the symmetry, open insert geometry, press the remesher and select the grid, adaptive for something else. For example, set this one and press the remesher button. And we have the square grid. Export it back. For example, we have this armchair, set the biggest setting, and the green becomes square view. Press export. The same, but with the square grid. But we need to paint the stitches. Press folder. So it's not so easy to paint the stitches here. Press extrude -2, 0.3, and here -1, 1. And apply turbo smooth. So we have such stitch and a square grid for square grid lovers, because I like and prefer this one. There was adaptive button. It's for dense grid when the stitch is not disappear. I think I had to press it. But here it's equally located, and we needed to make retopology. What else about Max? So we have seen the modifiers and about render settings. The scene from 3D side. When we press download the model, here we have Render Studio. I use these settings, show in the folder, open it. So here the render scene, light, camera, but I place camera here set 10. I don't like very big perspective. Press F10 and preset, and press save settings. For example, write down, for example, 55, and that's all settings are saved. Now to make render, press F10, and here load the settings. Select 55, load them, replace render scene Open camera and press render. The light is already set. Now I'll show you the materials. I take the materials from my old models, previous ones, but I have one which I use it every time, only make some changes. For example, this armchair. Not this. So the armchair on the scene. What about material? Make some settings. Move lamp to this side to see better, and this one here. This material is soot. And I want to make this armchair with a glossy look. This materials looks like this. It combines two materials. One is darker than another, and it's all through the black and white cut. Black is one material, white is another, and that's why we have such soot effect. I want to make it more glossy, so I set bumper at 2. And here set 20 for a more interesting effect. And watching what we have. So the material is becoming more glossy. For example, we can use it for bed linen. And this is all prose material. Now I want that material will be with this logo. So you can see this effect. And now I wanted with check effect, whereas black square will be shaggy material, and whereas white square will be with a glossy surface. So to make it, I set at one material bump 2, and second 150. So you can see this material is multi-proposal. We can use it in bed linen, like glossy material, like suede material, material with complex print, or think even on the walls like wallpapers. That's why I like it and use it in even every model. The most important to make this suit is to make a light difference between materials, because if one color will be very different, so the difference will be very sharp. For example, bump consists of 3 textures. We changed only one slightly, 2.1. A little bit lighter, 1.8, and here set 2. So we can achieve such interesting effect. If we change bump slightly, so the material will be with glossy view. So not so very difficult settings. It's important to find such interesting material, this one, to achieve suit effect, and it will be very cool. I think that's all about the materials. Also, for example, take the stripe. Want one and black stripe will be glossy like metal, and other material looks like suit. To make this, I take metal texture and replace it here. and watching what we have. I think it's amazing. So a lot of settings. If you are interested, you can download my model, take this material and have a test. A lot of opportunities, and you shouldn't search something and think about the settings for ages. So about light settings, I have white background, one lamp flashes to the background, two others flash to the armchair. We have such render. What else to show you about Max? I think that's all. The speed of work depends upon how you think all about model construction. How we were making the pillow, we can make the pillow from 4 parts, so it is accelerate the process if we will be making the pillow from one big box. Also it's with the chair leg, we can make it from 2 parts. Paint the chair leg, paint 1 part, and when we are painting it, it's important not to change the normals, because it will cause for incorrect textures. So we have the chair leg, we are making it for turbo smooth. When we make it for smoothing, 2 dots shouldn't take place like this. They should be played separately, like this. Rotate it. We can make the chair leg from 2 parts, it will be much faster. I made a wrong copy because it's too late. Copy instance, 90 degrees. Painting the chair leg. At such curved places, it's better put 3 dots, neither 2. Press Shift to make the width. Because of we have two parts, the working process is going faster. Going faster. Here we can make a stitch. Convert to poly. Press attach. Then weld. Not too much like here. Delete the center G key. Press chamfer. Correct these places. Here press weld. Apply Turbo Smooth. So we have such like here press connect edges. For good and proper applying of texture. So connect the edges for making the unwrapping. So we at the edges, then slice plane. Extrude. And chamfer. And make a stitch. Then Turbo Smooth, so we have such leg. Also we can make a copy. Convert to poly, press attach. Then make, for example, how we can make a chair. The back side is a little bit narrower than front side. It's very good to make it with FDD modifier. Connect these ones and a little distance for these ones. So we have the back legs of our chair. Apply Turbo Smooth. Something like that. It's figuratively. It's better to make it from the picture, but the principle of rock is very close. I think that's all about Max. I have shown how to make the folds and something else. For example, we have a pillow, this one. We have such pillow and we need to make small folds. And we have this grid, and to make small folds we need to set Turbo Smooth bigger. For example, set 1 here, convert to poly, paint the folds using cut, and again apply Turbo Smooth. The folds are small. If the folds are big, so we can paint on this grid. It depends upon the model you are making. I think that's all about Max. Don't know what to add about interface. In conclusion, what we need to make the models, we need to know primitives, need to know poly very well, every these settings, not every, approximately the half, and the modifiers, which I have told you about. And with these knowledges we can make the models like I make. I make it very simple, beginning not from the box, just take a plane and then paint the forms, which are becoming more complex. You can see my channel, the full version videos without comments, not only for Russian, but also and for others. Comments are needless there. Watching video, you understand how to make the model. And the next video will be about Marvelous. Also, we have the educational course, which consists of 10 video lessons, where we'll discuss every module in details and create it from scratch. You'll have all the materials of this course. You will be able to rewatch the lessons in any time you will to refresh all the necessary moments. Briefly, this course consists of all necessary functions for effective work in 3D Max and Marvelous Design, how, where and how much you will be able to earn making modeling, watching my model rating, which of the models are selling more or less. 8 video lessons will create models from simple ones to complex. Every lessons with comments, drawings, pictures, textures, materials and archive files with models are attached to every lesson. Every information you will find under the video.